Are you tired of pushy real estate agents who don't have your best interest at heart? Give Jennifer Petroselli a call. Jennifer helps her clients make smart real estate decisions that benefit them in the long run. Contact Petroselli Homes on Niles Boulevard. Well, Najwa, I'm glad that you're here for the podcast. And this was very last minute, but I am really happy that we were able to make this work. So you reached out to me through Instagram, which people can get a hold of me on Instagram easily that way. But you are kind of spearheading, you and your kids are spearheading the very first Fremont Children's Business Fair. Is that right?
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us and doing this on such short notice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself first, and then I want to hear about where this idea for the Children's Fair came from.
Sure. Happy to. So I'm a local physician. I've been in Fremont for the last 16 years. But I work down in San Jose.
Okay.
So that's where my office is. But, I've been local here. I'm a physician. I work for Good Samaritan Hospital. My children both are small business owners. Oh. And so this is actually, it's their doing.
Okay.
That started all of it.
How old are your children?
So my son is 14 and my daughter is 12.
Okay. Wow. Small business owners. Wow. That's great.
I know. 2020 for a lot of people was pretty difficult, but in our house, it was a spark of innovation.
Okay.
And my son was 10 at that time, and he started to write some books, and then he continued to pursue that passion, which we thought was transient, but it wasn't.
Okay.
And he's made, obviously, he's made a business out of it. He actually attended a small business fair in one of the local Bay Area towns and was so inspired with all the children that were there and the innovations that they had come up with, their business ideas, that he was like, "Mom, we've never had one in Fremont, and I want to do one in Fremont."
Wow.
So that's how this all started.
So when was that? When did that conversation happen?
So he approached me in December of this year, and then by March he had basically hounded me like, "We have to do this."
Wow.
And he wanted to actually do this for his 15th birthday. So
that's cool.
I know, crazy. So for his birthday is August 26th, and he was like, "Mom, for my 15th birthday, I want this." It's like for his birthday last year when he was turning 14, he wanted to do a book signing at Barnes & Noble's because that's where he published his first book.
Yeah.
So he actually did a book signing at Barnes & Noble's in Walnut Creek.
Oh, my word. That is cool. So I'm just going to have to say, Aiden, he's reached out to me a number of times, and I think he's going to do some amazing things in the future. I think he's already done some amazing things, but he's reached out to me a number of times, and we, my team and I have had him on a list to contact him, and things get busy sometimes, but he's impressive. Like at least from a distance at this point that I've seen, he's impressive, and the fact that he's only 14 years old and he's doing what he's doing, as well as being able to make the contacts with different people the way he has, is pretty awesome.
He is a very special child. I mean, I'm not going to lie that his tenacity and his sheer ambition really inspire me. And I'm not joking, not because I'm his mom, but
sure.
He wanted to know how to become a best-selling author, and he was gung-ho about getting an bestseller to be his mentor. And he reached out and he got Mr. Stuart Gibbs from the Spy School Kids to be his mentor. That
is awesome.
I know. Wow. I know. He wanted to share his books with Christopher Polini, and the best-selling author of Aragon, and he did, and he went and met him. He has a letter, multiple, it's just, he really is dedicated, and he really loves to inspire kids. So he does a lot of tours around the Fremont school districts to bring the joy of reading a book back to kids.
Wow.
Because he feels like that's a lost art, and he feels like everybody's on their phone and on the computer, which he thinks is great too, but like he loves books and he reads about 50 books a year. So
that's great.
So yeah, it's fun with him, and so it's him.
I think Aiden will need to be my mentor at some point in time, because I think he's doing things that I have yet to even begin to do. So that's really cool.
I think it's because when you get older, we're no longer naive to the world. And he's so naive. Like, he's just like, well, they said no, it's no problem. Let's move on. Let's just bother them again.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome. So tell me about your 12-year-old. I don't want to overshadow them in any way.
Yeah. No. So my 12-year-old obviously was like, how come I'm not getting any of the spotlight? And she's the actress in our house. Okay. And so, she's a fan of the Stardust Theater. That's another local Fremont area amazing business. So she was like, Mom, I have this amazing idea to make customizable perfume oils. And I was like, what is that? And we had gone to a trip to the south of France, and we went to this perfumery that's owned by nuns, and it's actually, that's the only way you can buy this perfume is if you go there.
Oh my word.
It's called Fogonard, and she saw their process of making perfumes, and she was just like really inspired by it. And so when we got back home, she was like, I want to make one too. And so her company, basically you can pick your oils that you have, like whatever smells that you like I like rose and lavender, and she will mix that with the dried flowers and make a perfume oil that's roll-onable. So
that's cool.
It's really cool. And people love it. Like, people get jasmine on jasmine. And for men, so she first realized that, this is great for girls and women, but like, what about men? And then so she was like, oh, Mom, we can make essential oils that are like soothing and relaxing for men. So she has like peppermint and eucalyptus. That's awesome. And tobacco oils, and like they just smell really nice. And
that's great.
So that's her company.
Wow, that's cool. So Aiden really wanted to have this children's fair, and really encouraged you to help out with it, and they've kind of taken it and run with it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah.
So so these kids, they were just like, okay, we want to have as many kids come and apply, and they want them to be vendors at this event. And so I was like, okay. So initially, like, the Acton School of Business is a great partner.
Okay.
They're the ones who actually gave us the footprint on how to make this fair possible.
Okay.
Because the Acton School of Business actually does fairs throughout the world, actually. And just some statistics on them. Yeah. They have about 3,000 fairs a year, 71,000 children entrepreneurs.
Wow.
They're in 27 countries and in 623 cities. So we've never had one in Fremont.
Right.
So Aiden was like, let's bring it to Fremont. And so we opened up the applications. First, he had to apply with them. We got the okay from them. And then here, the way that the process works is that you have to apply on the central portal. And then once you get the applications of the vendors come in, you have to approve them.
Yep.
And then you actually have to then set up the fair. So he didn't think that we were going to get that many applications.
Yeah.
And we not only sold out of our applications, but then we have a huge wait list.
Wow.
And he was like, Mom, I don't feel bad to say no to all these other kids. And I said, well, we can't accommodate, we have we can only have so many, but then we can do it again later.
That's right.
At a later time.
That's right.
So they had to find sponsors. They had to find judges. They had to find a location.
Wow.
And they had to do press. So, Aiden reached out to press teams and everybody to help him. Writing all those letters, query letters, like both of the kids, like they did it. They were really working hard.
Yeah.
So they've been working on it for 6 months.
Wow. How many, I know there's a waiting list, but how many vendors are actually accepted? And
34.
34 vendors.
Yeah, we had 30 that we had, but then there were 4 others that literally just begged to be on it. And so we added 4 more. So we are at 34 right now.
Wow. And so these are all children business owners?
All children business owners aged 6 through 16.
Oh my
and
word.
Majority of our bulk is within the age group of 6 to 12. Yes.
So what kind of businesses are we talking about? Like you told me about your kids, but like what are kind of like what's the scope of businesses that these kids have?
It's incredible. You would not believe it. So we have kids who are doing amazing things in STEM, like robotics. They're building out products that are STEM based. We have other kids who are doing really creative things like one of them makes skateboards that are customizable and paintable and all of that. So we have kids who are making jewelry. We have kids who are making candles and slime and bar soaps. We have actually at our event, we're actually going to have a vendor who is also a brother-sister duo that won the National Kids Baking Championship.
Wow, yes, that's really cool.
On the Food Network.
On the Food Network.
Yes.
Oh, my word.
So
that's
they're
cool.
going to be there. They're called La Javab.
Yep. Okay.
We also have other kids who are making like these organic lemonades and organic honey, and like the parents, the whole thing is that the kids have to be in charge of their business.
Sure.
And it's incredible because half of the time the parents, like they don't know how they're like they're like, I don't know, I have to ask my kid like how do they harvest this honey. But it's really
That's cool.
incredible.
That's inspiring. Yeah.
So inspiring. Like you feel like as an adult, like, man, like I miss that.
That's right. So how many of the kids are actually from Fremont? Are these from outside the area? Or are they all
90% of the kids are all within Fremont and neighboring cities.
Oh, that's great.
So we don't have anybody from coming like too afar. Like everybody's within like a 15 to 18 mile radius
that's
at the
awesome.
most, you know. So 90% are all Fremont kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah, our local kids.
Wow. So your kids are inspiring. Obviously, they had to be inspired by somebody. So I'm assuming that you inspired them in some ways. What do you do, and what has it been for you to be able to be involved in this as well?
So that's such a great question. Like, I wish I could take so much of the credit of what these kids do, to be honest, but I've learned that you cannot make your kids do anything. They really have to want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, that as a parent, I've always, any idea that they've had, I've really have wanted to foster their love for that idea and just innovate in any sense, right? As people ask me, like, how did Aiden become an author? Like, what did you do? And when he was like 7 years old, he just made like a comic book that we self-published for him. Okay. And we shared it with our neighbors. And when one of our friends who's a teacher, she took it to her kindergarten class, they loved it so much that they wrote thank you cards. And I think that positive, affirmation that, you can do something at 7 years old, like that really plays into it. I myself have a startup company. And so I think that also shows the kids, like, you could be a business owner, you can take risks, and, you can do hard things. Yeah. And so I think that those types of things, those narratives just kind of play out in our house, and they help to foster how my kids approach things that they think are hard to do, but everything's hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Your startup company, I'm just curious, is that something that, I can imagine, like, I have the Fremont podcast. It's not like a major business. It's really just been a hobby and a gift. But I know that it's inspired my son. Like, my son has talked about wanting to do like the kids Fremont podcast, or wanting to do, go interview his friends and stuff like that. So it's something that I've enjoyed sharing with my family and sharing with my son. But there's also parts of that too, where I know, like, I'm off interviewing people, and, he has no clue where I'm at or what I'm doing or what the interview was like or anything like that. I'm just wondering, I'm curious, with your business and your startup, how much of that is like is that stuff that you share with your family, or how much, I guess what I'm saying is there's the inspiration behind something, but then there's like the logistics of like how something has to, all the things that have to happen in order for it to actually develop into something real. Sure. So how much of that do you share within your own household?
So, that's a great question. So I'm a foot and ankle surgeon. I'm a podiatrist. I do, I've been in the medical field for so long, but, doctors are really risk averse.
Sure.
They really are. They like to have their very stable things that's very mathematical. And the startup world, or starting a hobby or starting a side hustle, anything, there's a lot of volatility and variances in it. And it's not for the faint of heart, because you have to logistically, right? Like forget the inspiration, logistically, like you have to figure out like how to work that part of your life into a very stable environment of your family, your kids, your work. And for me, when I started, I have a luxury footwear company. It's built on medical technology. It's manufactured in Italy.
Okay.
It's at Nordstrom's. And that whole journey for 8 years that I went through was so difficult, worse than residency, because, residency, you're trained to become a physician.
Sure.
But when you're not from a business background or a footwear designer and you're trying to bring medical technology to it, it's just so different.
Yeah.
And I had such hardships. And in our house, we are very open. We always have a open circle. We talk to our kids. We share all ideas with them, the good and the bad.
That's cool.
And I think that trickled down into their brain about, like mom is doing something so hard, and some days she's so exhausted because she works all like 13 hours in the hospital and then comes home and she has to do like customer service emails because, when you have a startup, you're everybody, right?
You're doing everything. Yeah,
are doing
that's
everything.
Right.
Quality control. You're the CEO. You're the janitor. You're, ordering supplies. You're taping your boxes, like everything. And I think that just having them watch that, taught them that you have to be logistically inclined. You need to know how to make this business run. And I think that that's where it helped, because these kids now, they have to figure out like their Excel sheets, like, like how much product are you going to sell? What are you going to do? And I thought it would make them bored, but you would be surprised. Kids, they really want to be adults.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And they want you to give them something,
Yeah.
And so I think that in our house, we just have a lot of discussions, not realizing those are life-changing discussions.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think something you said earlier too, I love it. And I know that there's been books written on this about, or at least, portions of books that have been written on the children's imagination. The sky's the limit. They legitimately think, if I can imagine it or if I can dream it, it's possible. And I don't think that's a bad thing for kids to believe in, because I do think it opens up a whole world that I think that as adults we've kind of grown out of, and we've 100%. Basically convinced ourselves that dreams are just dreams and there's nothing else, we can't do anything else about it, And so I do think that like what your son and your daughter have pursued in the way that they've turn their dreams into a reality, I think is just fantastic. I think that's wonderful. So, tell me a little bit more about the fair here. I'm just curious. I know that you mentioned that you reached out to me, or you found out about me through Banter Books,
yes.
which they have been a fantastic sponsor for our podcast. Mm-hmm. Amy has supported us and has encouraged me in many ways. What are the other relationships you've had? Do you have sponsors that are helping support
yes.
this fair,
mm-hmm.
or what does that look like?
So I wholeheartedly agree with you. Banter Books is bookshop. Banter Bookshop is just such an amazing local community business. I think we should all support them. They're fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
Amy, she introduced me to you, but they are one of our first sponsors. Aiden had a book signing there. They've always been so generous with their time. And I'm an avid book reader, so all my books come from there. But Aiden,
that's great.
Thanks. Aiden had also done he was a vendor at the Ohlone College
the flea market. Yeah. And they've been a sponsor of the podcast for a while
they're
too.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're great.
I think that they're just really great. I think that their whole idea of trying to bring the community out on a Saturday and just kind of enjoy the day is really great, and just walk around. We also have Bounty AI, which is it's a tech company that they've sponsored us as well. Their CEO, Usher Risky, was just really inspired by these kids. You know, he's a very young entrepreneur. This is his second company, and he just really wants to inspire kids to take that leap in STEM to, you know, go out and make something. And so since we do have a lot of kids at the fair who are doing things in STEM and robotics, we were really happy to have him there. Kimco Realty from Fremont Hub, they were so generous in allowing the fair to take place on their property.
That's great.
Fremont Hub is like very centrally located. It's a great place for us to be able to host this, so we're very thankful to them. And then Bass Medical Group, which is the medical group that I work for, they were also very excited to support this children's business fair. And so, yeah, we have like some amazing sponsors. We're so excited.
I love it. I love it. So give me some of the details, the date, location, and then like what can we expect when we show up for the fair?
So we're so excited. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. The date is August 24th. It's a Saturday. The timing is between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be at the Fremont Hub courtyard, which is basically right next to the Five Below and where Old Navy is. That whole courtyard has been rented out to us.
That's great.
We have the most amazing, talented kids. I'm blown away by them. I think it's so wonderful to see all of their different wares that they're going to bring out. I think that it's so important for us as adults to come out and support these kids, show them that it really matters to us that they've put so much time and effort into building their businesses, and just coming out and tell them, hey, good job, you know? And I think that affirmation, it goes so many folds over, more than we can even imagine. You know what I mean? Like we probably don't even know what type of footprint this is going to give them in their life.
That's great.
And so so please come out. Say there's 34 kids. There's going to be some food vendors, some drink vendors. There's going to be lots of arts and craft, lots of school supply stuff that you can stock up on, books that you can stock up on. So perfumes.
That's great. That's great. Well, it's history in the making, too. The very first Fremont Children's Business Fair. And hopefully it's not the last. Hopefully it'll be something that will become a legacy item within our Fremont community, which I think it's well worth it. So.
Yeah, I hope we have so much talent here. I would love to have kids show their wares. Every year. Yeah,
that's great. Well, thank you for meeting up with me. Thanks for joining me on the podcast. I'm going to have to get you back on here with your son, and we'll have to talk a little bit more about his journey with book writing and all that stuff too.
Would love to. We'd be honored to. Thank you so much, Ricky, for having us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to the Fremont Podcast. If you are an individual or a business that would like to be a sponsor partner on the podcast, please reach out at thefremontpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, thefremontpodcast.com, and you can reach out to us through our contact form. Thank you for listening, thank you for sharing, and thank you for your support.